guys, Kristina here. Welcome back to my channel! I had a lot of points coming up in relation to this Roe versus Wade being overturned. Obviously, I'm American and I'm a woman and I've had my experience with abortion, and so I have, like everybody, a perspective on the point. And so I had some things coming up in the last few days that have kind of been bubbling that wanted to come through in a blog. So wrote a blog, links below if you want to read it. Also just support myself because I wanted to talk about some stuff in regards to this, but also like there was kind of a lot of points, so I wanted to write it out also to kind of just get some clarity for myself in terms of seeing what it is I was seeing. And the biggest point that came through initially that I think is great was this point of it's important that we take the emotion out of it. I feel like there's this big cry for women's rights, which I totally understand that point of like feeling like, a woman doesn't have a right to choose what happens to her body and what happens in her body. Like, of course, she should have that right. That is her right. It's her body. But it's almost like it's been shaped to be like that's the core issue here, and it's not just that. Like, it's not even so much about a woman's body, like that point has been separated to a degree, in terms of looking at the Supreme Court and the decision they're making. What came through was this point of like, if we took the emotion out of it and just looked at the actual practical considerations of these judges and other people in positions of influence and power as political positioning where they're creating and drafting and voting on legislation, like what are the processes in which these people are going through in making the decisions that they do in terms of coming to the conclusion that they see is best. Because that's the thing. That's what I realized. So many people, whether they're aligned or agreed to what you think and believe or not, are coming from this idea that the conclusion they end up in is what is actually best. So the Supreme Court judges determined that what is best is to overturn this decision in Roe versus Wade, which suggests that the Constitution doesn't protect women's rights to abortion. So that just leaves states now open to decide for themselves. So, it's just like this point of looking at people come to conclusions about things and their position in relation to things as according to what is best to them. And who is to say that's wrong? Obviously, I don't think anyone has a right to impose anything on anyone else's body. I think everyone is self-sovereign. They all are autonomous beings and have a right to choose what happens to their body and in their body. And but I just feel like this is so loaded with emotions that we tend to not look at the actual reality of the situation. Like, even like really standing in the shoes of someone else who has a different opinion to you and consider how it is they came to that conclusion, and to realize that they are as adamant and clear and determined that what they're seeing is the right way, just like you are in your position. And it's just like, if we can just all get to that point of realizing that everyone is coming from a very particular place in which the way they've decided to think about things is completely valid for them according to where they grew up, how they grew up, who they grew up with, the culture they grew up in, the religion they grew up in. Like, it's just like recognizing like we have different opinions, we have different perspectives, we have different ideas about what is best. And we are not, the minute we impose that on other people as being a right or wrong situation is where we get messy and it gets, caught up in this conflict that's not necessary. Obviously, when you're dealing with laws and systems in play that influences people's lives and how they are able to make decisions, like, we have to be a little more specific about that in ensuring that we have a system in place that is designed to be actually what is best for all. But that's to come, and we're still refining this point. And so it's like, at this stage, we just need to get to a point where we can recognize that we have two different, like, we've polarized ourselves, we've split ourselves, we've divided ourselves to be black and white, left and right, right and wrong, like good and bad, positive, negative. Like we've split ourselves into this polarity. And so it's like, how do we find peace within this? Well, first is to recognize that the spectrum is all the same thing. And so whether you believe this or that, it doesn't matter. It's not one way is right or the other way is wrong. That doesn't exist. All of it is valid from your perspective in terms of your life experience, and how you've come to that conclusion is valid. Beyond that is where each individual can take responsibility for how it is that they've come to the conclusions they've come to. But it's like the first step is we just need to recognize that we have different opinions and perspectives and views on things and feelings about things and positions in relation to things, and we need to just recognize that that's okay. It's okay to have different ideas and not expect the whole world to have the same opinion. We're not all gonna agree. There's foundational things that we can all agree on, yes. But in terms of this type of stuff, we might not agree. We might not, and can we live with that? And anyways, so I kind of opened this point up, and there's obviously still a lot here for me, but read my blog if you're interested in that. And